Today we are going to discuss the SILKEN WINDHOUND, which is an elegant, longer-haired running dog. This breed was developed by Francie Stull, and Francie was a breeder of show Borzois and also deerhounds, but also was active in more performance classes, especially with lurchers. And what she did, she wanted to breed a new show version of the Borzoi, which is a Russian running dog, which also carries, next to running dog, some other blood, more of a collie type of blood as well, and also a little bit more of a combat blood, because they also were used to run down wolves on the open plains in Russia. And of course, that type of running dog would be closer to the Irish wolfhound of England, but in build the deerhound, it was more used for hunting deer, as the name implies, and also was used to recreate the modern day Irish wolfhound. It's closer in looks and also in build. So she had two similar type of dogs that are mostly running dog, the Borzoi and the deerhound, but also a little bit more sturdy. And what she did then is crossed in whippet type lurchers to Borzois, and also I think she used a little bit of collie blood. And this type of collie blood could be a border collie, but I think also when I look at those dogs, I think she used some of miniature Australian shepherd blood, which is an American breed, and their ancestors were not so much Australian dogs, but more dogs that were used by the Basques in Spain, and were used to handle the cattle from Australia, which was a lot more feisty, feral almost, as compared to normal cattle. And I think also some Australian cattle dog went in there as well, because of course if you have very hard cattle, you will also ask how they cope with it in Australia. But why do I think the miniature Australian Shepherd is brought in? If I look at the builds of these type of dogs, but also because they have a longer coat, and because they are like a dwarf version, they are very small. They don't have dwarfism, but it also helps to cope with the added size that the Borzois bring into the whippets. And the result is a dog of similar size and height as whippets are, so 10 to 20 kilograms for females, and males 5 kilograms heavier, 15 to 25 kilograms. And this, these dogs are very interesting. And why are these dogs so interesting? Because they bring many aspects of the lurcher breeds to the show world. So if you want to have a dog to show and can also benefit of the benefits of a lurcher, which often have a better feed and a more performance bias, this could be a good option. If you're only after performance, of course, you will just get the lurchers that work the best for you, and are not that much into show standards and all the other stuff, and also FCE recognized breeds is not that important to you. So this is an American originated breed, also recognized by the AKC and some members of the FCE states, but not by the FCE itself yet. So if you look at the temperament, you can compare it most to that of a whippet. Not so much the character of Borzoi, so a lot more easy. And it also has some the character of the collie, in my opinion. So for example, if you let collies roam, they will try to stick very much to their humans, to their herd, so to say, and they don't get too far away, so they have a minimum distance that they want to stay with you, which is a nice thing. That also gives you more insight also in the behavior, that you see that they are quite the collie type of lurcher, so to say. Also, if you want to have that long hairs that Borzoi as a show breed is known for, you need something with very long hairs to give that to the breed that you are trying to develop. So it's very well that you either they bred in some Borzoi blood, but normally if you, for example, cross a whippet with a greyhound, you get a much larger whippet than you would get as a normal whippet. And also the Borzoi is a similar size instead of a greyhound, so while crossing those two, normally you would get dogs that are far bigger than your average whippet, and they are not. And also the hairs of the Borzoi should be a little bit diminished in those crosses normally. Another thing to give you more insight why I think collie blood has been used is that they also have abnormal collie type of diseases, such as eye genetic deficits that are aptly named collie genetic deficits. So this should, in my opinion, also on the genetic side, solve the puzzle that collie blood was used to make this type of dogs. And this collie blood could also be of other breeds that have similar characteristics as, for example, border collie has, which is also very agile. Border collie whippet crosses, if you look at them, they can look a lot like silken windhounds. So that could also give you a little bit more insight if you want to see such a cross compared to the silken windhound. And also some border collies are quite small as well. And there could be a little bit of Borzoi blood in. I can imagine that there is also the variety of colors that she has developed could also indicate that the Australian shepherd dog in its miniature form was used as well, which is quite rich in different type of colors. And another thing is with these type of lurchers, they are very agile, a little bit more robust than, for example, whippets on the paw area. They are not as fast as your regular performance whippets, but they are almost as fast. Also, they are a little bit more explosive and a little bit more agile sometimes, depends on the weight. And also you see often with this type of lurchers that they are far better protected against, for example, the brushes and the brambles, because they have a thicker coat. And those coats of the modern day Borzois, but also the Afghan windhound, which is very long coated, are a little bit too much. But for example, the coat that the deerhound has helps a lot in protecting the body instead of slowing it down, because you don't need a coat that entangles everything. The name Silken Windhound comes from the coat that has that silk type of feel that you also see in, for example, Afghan windhounds, and to a degree also the Borzoi. The goal was to breed a mini Borzoi, and as mentioned, I think a little bit of Borzoi blood went in, but also a lot of other blood, and that gave you some of the interesting facts about this breed. Would I get one over a whippet? It depends. If I lived in a country that it was quite cold, I think the Silken Windhound is a lot better suited for that conditions. You don't have to put something over your whippet, as you see sometimes, to protect their spine, and because they have very low fat levels normally. Also, when you're walking your dog, would just go for a lurcher, not be limited to a silken windhound, but more of a show type of dog. Perhaps they are a little bit more healthy than your average whippet, but also then you have whippets of performance lines that are very healthy, and you could also go for the whippet crosses. For example, whippet petadil cross, as I saw, was a very nice type of dog. I would even opt to go, because I'm more of a terrier guy, to go to 75% terrier blood. But they also have drawbacks. For example, the collie that wants to stay close to its family, terriers and also running dogs often really want to focus after their prey and also wander a lot. So that collie blood could help tremendously. And I don't think it's a bad cross at all. And also it's a very young, still maturing breed. And I'm glad that these type of breeds are now added to the staple of show dogs, because if you compare to the general show dog, this breed is far superior. And also because it has some performance lurchers in its pedigree next to Borzois and whippets and collies. This is a good thing. Have a great day. Oh, the dog on the leash is my petadil terrier Estacado. He's now 1.5 years old. Bye bye.